The Irreconcilable Differences divorce. Mississippi allows citizens of Mississippi to divorce on the ground of irreconcilable differences. Let me first say that this does not mean that people are allowed to enter into what is known in other states as a no-fault divorce. A no-fault divorce allows people to divorce whether or not there are grounds for divorce and whether or not the other party agrees. Mississippi is a little different. Mississippi does allow people to divorce where there are no fault grounds or where the parties choose not to pursue the fault grounds, such as adultery, cruelty, drunkenness, use of drugs. But Mississippi requires that the parties agree both to a divorce and to all of the terms of an agreement regarding child custody, visitation, division of property, alimony, and support. Or the parties can agree to submit whatever issues they cannot agree upon to a court for decision. The key is that Mississippi law requires parties to agree to a divorce. This is a good process for parties to follow, and it is typically the process that most people follow in Mississippi to obtain a divorce. Many times people will file a complaint for divorce on a fault ground such as adultery or cruelty, but they will also include what we call an alternative claim for a divorce on irreconcilable differences. The reason that lawyers do this is that most cases, perhaps even 95% of cases, are ultimately settled and the people divorce on irreconcilable differences. So since the lawyers have put an alternative request for a divorce on irreconcilable differences in their complaint, this allows the parties to fairly quickly move to a divorce on that ground. There is a waiting period for this divorce on irreconcilable differences of 60 days. What this means is that a complaint for divorce of some kind or another has to have been on file for 60 days before a judge will sign an order of divorce. As I said, sometimes this process is initiated by a fault complaint on the grounds of adultery or cruelty with an alternative claim for divorce on irreconcilable differences. Other times, when the parties know up front that they want to agree to a divorce on irreconcilable differences, they file something called a joint complaint for divorce on irreconcilable differences. This is simply a two-page document which says that both parties are citizens of Mississippi and have been for 6 months, and that they both want a divorce. The key is that once a divorce has been on file for 60 days, the parties can then divorce. There are 3 basic documents that come into play if the parties agree on the front end to a divorce on irreconcilable differences. The first is the 2-page joint complaint for divorce. That is filed with the clerk of the court. The second document is the agreement between the parties. This agreement spells out all of the child custody, visitation, support, equitable distribution, and alimony issues. That agreement is signed by the parties. The third document in the process is called the final judgment or decree of divorce. This again is a simple 2-page document that the judge signs that says the parties are divorced. It also incorporates the agreement of the parties into the judgment and says that the agreement of the parties is in fact a judgment of the court. This is the Irreconcilable Differences divorce process in Mississippi.